Hello everyone and welcome to Gierok Farms. It is a very cold morning here on the dairy farm. It is -9, -8. Winter is setting in. Had a nice snowfall here about a day ago. It is beautiful outside, but to start off this morning, we are gonna take care of the cattle here. I'm gonna run through the outbuildings here, feed up, check over the waters, especially because it's so cold. Give everything a once over and then we'll head up into the dairy barn. It was silage day yesterday, so they got plenty of feed in here. I'm gonna push back their existing feed, make a nice little lunch tray, I guess you could say, a clean plate, so then they can clean up their grain really nice. Crawling up to the maternity pen here now. Everybody's got their grain. Another important thing when it's really cold like this is checking over those water cups. We've talked about them in prior videos, but those Nelson water cups have worked out really well for us. They're heated and stainless, and they've held up very well. But I gotta check the one way in the back of the barn here, and she's open. Warm yet? The maternity pen, we got 2 cows in here and 3 calves. And I think the 2 cows are doing a wonderful job taking care of the calves. We'll get out of those cows' hair, let them focus on just letting them babies nurse instead of looking at me wondering what the heck I'm up to. We'll come back in a little bit and push up the rest of the feed in there, but now we'll head over to the bull barn and push up all the silage and maybe crack a couple bales of hay open. Isn't that a beautiful sight? Seeing all the cattle lined up at the manger, eating and picking through everything, and everybody's getting a nice breakfast. A nice plus to having this new barn and this new setup, our waters are on the front side of our barn, so it's really easy to check them as you're feeding up in the morning. In the old setup, the water cup was way in the back. It was shared between the 2 pens. So to check them, you always had to climb into the pen and walk to the back, which necessarily wasn't the worst thing in the world. You know, it was nice. You got to walk through the cattle and the bedding pack and kind of check things over that way. But this is super convenient. You can kind of glance at them as you're feeding, and it's one less step. Saves the guy some time. But everything looks good there. I'm gonna head over to the dairy barn and help Dad get started there this morning. Yep. Yeah, I just gotta push up. Yeah. Otherwise it's good.
So, if you guys can see that, kind of a bluish green, about the size of a baseball. It's just on the face. It's only in maybe about 3 to 4 feet. But we'll talk about that more in a minute. We got to keep moving until we don't freeze our barn. Heck, even YouTube might freeze up.
Yeah, so we wanted to take a break from our regular programming. We had a question come up while we were feeding, and we thought some of you might know, especially any of you with silage or cattle, you know, any type of feed, I guess. We're questioning how can we combat this mold here. We've tried switching up seed genetics in the past. I feel like we've been putting our pile together adequately, if not, you've been putting your pile together the same way for a long time now.
Forever, and it isn't really nothing to do with the way we pack. We got our hay underneath. We got like, what, 3 feet, 4 feet of corn on top of that hay. And I don't believe that has anything to do with that, doing it like that. But this isn't right on top. This is down maybe a foot. So the stuff right on the top is perfect. I mean, it's kept. And what it is, it's probably when we start to pile, there's none. And maybe a week and a half into it, it starts to become more and more dominant before it gets really cold. Now, this year's been warmer. I've had this many different years, some years worse than others. I link a lot of it to triple stack corn. We never seen this in the 90s. I never seen this type of mold back then. It's almost a bluish green. It almost looks like the size of baseballs. So when you're feeding it, they just kind of roll out onto the side, and we've been just kind of chucking them out of the mangers and throwing them in the manure. Eventually, you get these huge big wads of it. And it's not just on the edges or anything like that. It's kind of a layer all the way through. So I think when we're feeding, we don't have a facer, so we're grabbing the silage and it maybe lifting it just slightly. It allows a little air to get in. So it's actually growing in about 3 to 4 feet ahead of us. And what I've noticed when we get this sub-zero weather, after about a week of feeding like that, I get ahead of it. The cold weather is almost like a freezer. You know, it's just some funny stuff. This is something that starts in after we open the pile. Now we're using Silo King, which is a good product for inoculants. We've been upping our rates, or at least trying to, during that last few feet of filling. That's their recommendations. And even those people are puzzled on why. They claim it's mold spores, it's in the field, it's in the corn already. The really wet, humid, damp years we had were worse. And then, of course, this year being a drier year we've had, so it's still here.
Yeah, so the question we have for you guys is what products do you know of where we could combat that? You know, we're not big enough where a facer would really make sense. There's not a whole lot of square footage down there.
Yeah, we don't have that tall and that, that much feed, at a face but I don't believe that's gonna totally eliminate it. It may help.
And then with the corn is, would like a fungicide make a difference or a certain genetic make a difference? Let us know in the comments if you guys have had anything like this and changed your system up and made it work.
And that's what I'm really curious if other farmers are seeing this. And of course, the bigger the pile, like one farmer compared it to, he said, one bad pickle in your sandwich is not gonna kill the sandwich. But when your sandwich isn't as big, and you end up with that type of stuff going on, I mean, we've been taught mold in corn is almost like feeding your cows poison. And maybe the blue molds, there's so many different types of molds. Reds,
I've heard red's the worst. That's
yeah.
what I've heard. So.
And then you get let's say you get a cow aboard a calf early or something, and you're always in the back of your mind is, why? It could be just a fluke of nature, it could be all sorts of things, but it's kind of a pain in sorting this stuff out. It's not even the economics of it. It's just more, I'm not going to feed my cows that. Pretty soon we're sweeping that kind of junk up in the mangers. So just something we've been noticing. And we'll give you guys an update, because now we got sub-zero weather for the first time this winter. We're what, mid-January?
Yep.
And sounds like we got a good week of this coming yet. So I'm thinking it's always worse earlier in the feeding season than it is later. It seems like we're getting the spring. It's warmer. I don't know if the feed is more fermented, more stable.
Killed off the bacteria over the winter or something.
Well, it's hard to say for sure. Another thing is we get a huge deep snowpack on top of the trench. Now that don't get cold down in there. You know, we don't get, I know I've had years where we had it froze through where maybe a foot of 16 inches down in, and you get these huge sheets. And you'd be taking those out and setting them on the side and then driving on them with the skid steer to
Break them up.
Break them up, and it's fine for the cattle. They can eat frozen feed like that as long as they got, you know, the good energy in it and some baled hay with it. But like I said, back in the 90s and before, we started using triple stack corns in 07. We've had some real serious bug problems, and I think what it was is our whole neighborhood around us was using it. And the agronomy people told me, your field's like the refuge. They're going to that one. You're concentrating on your stuff. Your corn on corn, you're going to need to start changing your genetics. And then I do link some of these issues to some of that. I don't know. See what you guys think. What do you guys?
Yeah,
What's your idea?
leave some comments down below. But anyways, we're gonna get back to choring here. We're gonna start milking. But thanks in advance. So let's get back to work.
They're in heaven here. My father-in-law always said, when you let them outside on a day like today, it's sunny, it's nice out, but yet it's super cold. He said then they come back in, they realize how good they really got it tied up in this barn. It'll be spring again, the grass will be green, they'll get their freedom then.
Okay, we have wrapped up with milking. Now it's on to washing the units and the milk line, getting the rinse going, and then throw some soap in and give it a good wash so it's ready for tonight. Mason and I just moved 2 cows that were drying up. That went pretty smooth. It was nice of him to help with that. And Dad right now, he's messing around feeding calves. He's down in the maternity pen milking those 2 cows I showed you this morning and making sure all them calves are full, and then taking care of the calves in our super hut. Pretty important when it's cold to make sure them calves have all the milk they want. Come on, girls. Go play out in the snow. Go get yourself some hay. All congregated up. Okay. So the cows are out of the barn now, and we're gonna clean everything up in the dairy barn, getting the manure out of it right now. One of the extra things we gotta do today is we're gonna bed up the bull barn, and we're gonna also do a little bit of bedding in the calf barn, throw some straw bales out, but nothing serious, just adding to the bedding pack, giving them some extra insulation. You guys might be wondering why that dump trailer is sitting outside when it's so cold like this. If you watch all the videos, you'll know in yesterday, or the prior video to this one, our door opener on the one end had issues. The bearing went out on one of the sprockets, so then the chain kept falling off, and this wasn't a good situation. So if you want to know more about that, go check out that other video if you haven't already. I also want to remind you guys that if you want to support us, share the videos with your friends, and also go check out GierokFarms.com. That's our store. We're currently selling hats, but in the future here, we're going to be selling some other items. So go check us out, GierokFarms.com. By no means do we expect it, but we really would appreciate it. That's enough of that. Let's get in the field and spread off this load of manure. We picked up a sidekick. She followed me down here and then was wanting to go play in the manure, and I was like, heck no, I don't want to deal with that. You don't give yourself a bath, I gotta do that. You can't be playing around in the manure. You just have to deal with the tractor ride instead. Can you do it? Oh, I gotta catch you? I can catch you. All right. Are you gonna do it? Ooh, that's a jump. And now for the machine shuffle, just to get out a couple round bales. they got some new fresh bedding. While he's messing around scraping out the alley, I'm gonna go over here and throw a couple straw bales in these pens over in the calf barn. Hate sitting around waiting to help open gates and maneuver. It definitely speeds up the skid steer, man, but that's a boring job. Okay, we are wrapped up with bedding cattle. Dad is fueling up the skid steer right now, and then he's going to be putting it away. All that's really left to do for morning chores is let the cows in, but I think they're really enjoying the sun. Even though it's colder, them cattle sitting in the sun, they can really soak up some heat. I think they really enjoy that. But thank you all for making it to the end of the video. Remember to leave your comments about that silage problem of ours, and also remember to go check out GierokFarms.com if you haven't already. But that's going to be it. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time.